All right, so there's been some massive gains this past week if you've been following my channel. I also have a signal channel and one-on-one teachings. It'll be listed in the link below, but let's get into the technical analysis. This is NC Hammer. My name's Neil. Let's get into it. So we're looking at Bitcoin, had its massive pump from its inverse head and shoulders, as we see. From around here to here is about 25% for Bitcoin, which also pushed up the rest of the market. What we really want to see is a bullish engulfing within these candles, which we are trying to push up above this orange candle and close, and we may see it start pushing back up towards 105, trying to bring up the 200 EMA. You want to keep the 200 EMA close. You don't want to have some kind of dramatic move like I will show you here in Toshi. So Toshi is a meme coin. We are looking at a buying at this bottom with the inverse head and shoulders as well. Played out a little bit longer. But once it broke the 0.0004, from that point, we would see 129% increase. However, some people buying at this top are actually down a bunch of money because it is a meme coin. It's 20% within a few, I guess a day. But keep in mind, Toshi is pretty volatile, something to look at. And just like meme coins, Doge coin, something I've been scalp trading for a long time. I showed you that we had this inverse head and shoulders appearing, and I had an entry right at this 19 cents when it broke that. And I would give a signal for that, so you guys would gain anywhere from 26 to 36% within those couple of hours. It is currently retracing. We do want to see it push back up towards 23 cents. However, I believe anywhere in here is also a good buy area whenever it starts pushing back to try and get near that 200 EMA. I guess I forgot to show you in Toshi that the 200 EMA is just shot. 200 EMA is way down here, and we're way up here, so it's got a long distance in between, and usually it wants to come back through the CM guppy, all these green lines, and push back and touch this 200 EMA before taking off. So Toshi's a little sketchy at the moment. I also wanted to bring one up for Prime. I'm also going to be talking about the coins that were listed in the comments, being from Jonathan, LCX, ABT, Joey, GRT, or Joey had a different one. Joanna had GRT. But we'll go over all of them. Prime was what I picked up. I've been looking at for a little bit. Pushed up over the 200 EMA finally, but does have some high potential profit from where it's at, being $3 and being higher than 16. Just looking at it, want to see it hold above the 200 EMA and start pushing up towards the $6 again. Floki is also a meme coin, but it has had some pretty nice gains from where it was at. This graph is terrible. We'll bypass Floki. QNT, Joanna, I believe QNT is going up to or over $1,000. So I am starting to stack my bag actually with QNT by taking the scalp trades from Doge, as there's very nice potential from this point to about here was 21%, and then another 10% in between there from some scalp trades, so 31%. I took that and I started to buy into QNT. I believe it's going to try and hold above this orange downward trend line and hold above the 200 EMA. You can see at this entry point was very good. Entry from here, exit at 29, and then rebuy right in this area. But it followed the pattern that I had drawn, and now we want to see some support off that orange downward trend line. The overall profit is astronomical though, and it's going to be tax-free in USA. So if you're looking at this downward trend line here, you could post something like that, or you could even take it like this, and that's an even stronger downward trend line, but we eventually want to break both of these and start pushing back upwards. And I believe Coinbase, it doesn't show its all-time high, but if you go from this high down using Fibonacci, You can see it still has to pass the 0.0236 to start getting some serious momentum. But stacking your bags early for this one is a no-brainer. I believe QNT will have some major gains, if not 5x, 10x. BNT, I talked about it earlier this week, and it's been phenomenal. If you're in my signal channel, you nailed this entry at 0.35. Now wouldn't be a bad time to exit, getting 100% gains, because this 200 EMA as well is pretty far away from where we are at. This is just my type of trading for how I do my strategy. Everyone has their own, but I would probably sell at this point and wait for a closer retracement, at least to the CM guppy on the 4 hour being around 0.57. If you're looking at it on the daily, you can see that it's starting to trickle out a bit. It's getting some wicks up here at the top, but this is a little bit more bullish at this point. We are above the Nadara Watson, these green dotted lines, which is pushing out of the channel. And sometimes when you see that and it holds, it just has a major shoot upwards. But a lot of the times it tries to respect that channel, the red dotted lines down here, green dotted lines. And this should be something that you pick up normally just looking at a bunch of charts. And you can see that it probably needs to come back in here, retouch somewhere in the red, which would be around 0.55, and use the 200 EMA as support just to have a more healthy market for BNT. But so far, 100% gains. These candlesticks down here are showing very bullish. The next one's a little bit red, but just keep all of that in mind. BNT has been very nice this past week. Tornado, if you have a MEXC account, I have the links listed below. MEXC does trade Tornado Cash, and we see it's starting to try and get a little bit of support off that 200 EMA. It broke the downward trend line. It's holding a support upward trend line. It needs to break the 0.238 Fibonacci retracement right here for some major gains up to around $25 from 8. But it's not a bad idea to be buying Tornado Cash. This coin washes Bitcoin, and with all the rich people buying Bitcoin, they are going to wash their money. And so this, I believe, is going to be very volatile. It has an all-time high of over $400. So $8 to 400 is not bad. DNT, a lot of scalps can happen within DNT. But really, I believe we're starting to form out a diamond pattern, not 100%. And the way we would test this is we could take, where's it at? This one. The point from here to the top of this diamond, more or less, 143% there. But here, I already have it listed out. You can see the bullish and bearish targets right here being 74% increase. However, if that does not play out, it could be a potential 85% decrease. Just keep DNT in mind, as well as BNT. Now the more important ones, XRP, XYO, XLM, XCN. Inverse head and shoulders on XRP. We hit that 2.65 area, which we were looking for. We are staying within the range that we should be, trying to keep the 200 EMA close. I believe the range is going to be in between these two yellow lines, being 0.233 and 0.265. But the next potential push is past 0.32 before a little bit more rejection. Keep stacking your bags on XRP. It's a no-brainer. Get a bunch of XRP before it's too late. XYO. Starting to form a similar pattern in Ori's forms. And there's some major news that's coming up on the 14th, so being tomorrow. I believe it is going to test this black upward trend line as support. And with that, we are going to start pushing back up to the 0.016 and even higher, all the way up to 0.023. And that potential gain would be about 90%, 100%. However, it may take a little bit more time than just being May 14th and taking off. But overall, it is a major cup and handle pattern. Once it breaks this area, astronomical gains for XYO. XLM is forming very, very nicely, and it is doing the inverse head and shoulders as well, trying to fill out its cup and handle pattern. However, the 200 EMA is a little bit further away. We are probably going to see it get a little bit of consolidation before start pushing back up to 0.32 cents. And after that, pushing all the way back up to the high of 0.64 and beyond that. And now XCO or XCN, still working on the cup and handle pattern and this downward wedge, which has a bullish formation. We are going to start seeing this test off the 200 EMA most likely, pushing back up towards this downward trend line, and then breaking out towards this yellow box of 2 cents, and then the next potential of around 4 cents, finishing out the cup and handle and pushing the coin way past 4 cents. Pendle, GRT, MOG, all these. GRT was what Joey was talking about. GRT had the nice inverse head and shoulders that you can see. This is just my trading strategy. It seems to work for me very well. Everybody has their own. Form your own strategy from what you learn from me. And I believe we're going to start seeing some support, having this 200 EMA come up, touch GRT, and push it back up towards this downward trend line being around 0.25 cents. But beyond that, when you're looking at the daily, it also has some very astronomical gains. This we could consider a bear trap. And the bears think it's going to continue further. It pushes back over this upward trend line, over the 200 EMA, back up towards this downward trend line. If we can touch this, get a little rejection, and then break it, probably use it as support, and then start pushing all the way back up towards the high of $3.49. But overall, GRT, I believe, is going to break this trend line. This is 1 touch, 2 touch. We want to see 3, maybe even 4 touches before breaking that trend line and pushing back up towards 0.66. And Jonathan's been talking about LCX and ABT for months now, but it's been going down steadily. However, it is starting to build a little bit of support, but the one thing that kind of deters me is it's building this upward wedge, and upward wedges usually have a bearish outcome. It's trying to hold above the 200 EMA. We do want to see that hold strongly and break this trend line right here, this black line. But if that happens, you could consider it a cup and handle and the overall aspect, but it's not the best. But LCX does have a good utility, so I will be picking some up. As it is only 14 cents right now, I do want to see that hold as support and start piecing in a little bit more as it starts gaining a little bit more momentum. However, if you're looking at this area specifically, you could be looking back here in November, and it does have a similar pattern. Once it's trying to hold above the 200 EMA, at a major increase in price, and it was very rapid. So you can see that was about 280% increase. LCX can be pushing back up towards the 0.38, so stack a bag when it's a low, but make sure you're waiting to see a for sure confirmation, maybe some high volume for LCX. And ABT starting to build momentum as well, keeping the 200 EMA close, so that's looking nice. The Fibonacci fan is just kind of a generosity of where it's trading within the ranges. And you see once it broke that red line, it had a major push up to the top red line. And in the bigger picture, you can see in this downward black trend line, you have 1 touch, 2, 3, 4. If this comes up 5, it's starting to get a lot. It's more weak, and it's starting to break over that and get past the $1.40 mark. That's just kind of my outlook on it, pushing it up towards around $3. And I guess that's what I have for you guys today. I always recommend MEXC for lowest trading fees, Grass if you want free airdrop money, and Coinbase if you're looking for airdrop money as well. All the references and links will be listed below, and I will see you guys on the next one. I'm waiting this one out. I'm going to post it, but have it unlisted and see if the algorithm can branch this out to more viewers. Like and subscribe if you want. I will see you guys on the next one.